2 bullets left, hours until dawn. No help would come before sunrise. Cole's shoulder burned. He pressed a kiss to the little one's hair and vowed to protect them. 3 nights earlier, saving these siblings seemed the right thing to do. Now 100 guns surrounded him, thirsting for blood. How had one act of mercy led to this siege? 3 nights earlier, under a brutal desert sun, Cole rode along a dusty trail outside Red Rock. The stink of horse sweat and sagebrush hung in the still air. The only sound was the wind moaning through distant buttes, until a gunshot cracked ahead. Cole pulled up, heart lurching. Another shot rang out, shattering the silence. He spurred his mare forward at a gallop. Rounding a bend, he saw a wagon listing by a broken wheel and a cloud of dust. 2 outlaws were dragging 3 children toward a cliff's edge. The kids, 2 boys and a girl, about 8 years old, screamed in terror. One outlaw barked orders, pistol in hand. Cole's gut tightened. The children's wrists were tied, and a streak of red trickled down the little girl's cheek. "Please, let us go," one boy wailed. His plea met cruel laughter. Every muscle in Cole's body tensed. He had hung up his badge months ago, swearing never to spill blood again. But he couldn't stand by and watch these innocents die. With a roar, Cole kicked his horse into a charge. The thunder of hooves caught the outlaws off guard. Cole fired a shot over their heads. Crack! The sharp bite of gunpowder singeing the air. One outlaw spun, raising his rifle. Cole didn't hesitate. He fired, and the rifleman toppled from his saddle with a scream. The second outlaw yanked the girl close, dragging her in front of him as a shield. A long knife glinted at her throat. Cole hauled his mare to a halt, revolver trained on the man's head. His pulse pounded in his ears, sweat stinging his eyes. "Let them go," he growled, voice low and deadly over the wail of the wind. The outlaw's cracked lips curled into a sneer. "Take 1 step, and she's dead," he barked, pressing the blade against the girl's neck. For a moment, neither man moved. The canyon fell so quiet, Cole could hear the girl's faint whimper. Dust swirled around their feet. The other 2 children sobbed, their tears carving muddy lines on their faces. Cole's finger tightened on the trigger. "You don't want to do this," Cole warned. Even from 10 paces, he could smell the outlaw's sour whiskey breath. "Hurt her, and you won't leave here alive." The outlaw dug the knife in just enough to draw a thin line of blood. The girl cried out in pain. Something inside Cole snapped. His revolver roared. Cole shot first, true to his mark. The outlaw's knife flew from his hand as he stumbled back, a red bloom spreading on his sleeve. He howled and fell, releasing the girl. In a flash, Cole leapt down and snatched her away to safety. The wounded outlaw scooted backward on the ground, clutching his bleeding arm and snarling like a cornered coyote. Rage and fear burned in his eyes. You have no idea who you're messing with," he spat through gritted teeth. He bared yellowed teeth in a crazed grin. "Braddock will butcher you for this. By the 3rd night, he'll bring hell to your door." Cole leveled his gun at the man's chest, ready to finish it. His hand shook with raw fury. But behind him, the children were crying. He wouldn't spill more blood in front of them. With a scowl, he let the outlaw live. Keeping his pistol trained, Cole watched the outlaw scramble to his feet and clamber onto a stray horse. The man cast one last hate-filled glare. "We'll be coming," he snarled, then wheeled around and fled in a trail of dust. Cole exhaled a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. He slowly holstered his revolver. "It's all right now," he murmured, as he turned to the terrified orphans. Kneeling, he cut the ropes binding their small wrists. A hot gust of wind carried the coppery tang of blood and the pungent scent of sagebrush. Freed from their bonds, the little girl flung herself into Cole's arms, trembling. Her two brothers latched onto his dusty coat. All three were dirt-streaked, terrified, and far too young for this horror. Cole's heart twisted at the sight. Gently, he stroked the girl's tangled hair. "You're safe," he whispered, though uncertainty gnawed at him. In the distance, thunder rumbled, even though the sky was clear. Cole's hands trembled as the adrenaline ebbed. He had saved them, but at what price? 3 nights. The outlaw's threat echoed in his mind like distant thunder. He needed a plan before that deadline. Cole narrowed his eyes at the horizon, where a bruise of storm clouds now gathered despite the sun. Would he be ready when the devil rode back? Subscribe to stand with Cole when hell comes knocking. By late afternoon, word of the gunfight had raced ahead of Cole into Red Rock. As he led the 3 orphans down the sun-baked main street, shutters slammed and wary eyes peered from doorways. A murmur rose among the townsfolk clustering by the saloon porch. Cole could feel the weight of their stares, like the heat on his back. The smell of fear, acrid sweat, and old smoke hung in the air. Cole kept the children close. The little girl limped at his side, so he scooped her up despite the throbbing in his shoulder. He was bone-tired and on edge, but he headed straight for the doctor's office near the dusty town square. These kids needed care and shelter. He hoped Red Rock hadn't lost its decency. A broad-shouldered man stepped into Cole's path, hand hovering near the revolver on his belt. It was Sheriff Tatum, the tin star glinting on his vest. "Heard you caused some trouble, Mercer," the sheriff growled. At that, a frail boy clutching his mother's apron cried out, "Ma, are the bandits coming here?" A ripple of alarm swept through the onlookers. The crowd pressed closer, voices rising. "He led those outlaws straight to us." An old man spat from the boardwalk. "Braddock's gang will burn this town to the ground." Cole felt the swell of panic around him. He set the little girl down on the wooden sidewalk and raised his palms. "Everyone, listen, listen." A shopkeeper's wife cut in, voice shrill. "Last time you were in a shootout, Cole, we lost a barn and 2 cows to stray bullets. We remember the Henderson farm." Others nodded, recalling bitterly. Public shame heated Cole's cheeks as the crowd muttered about his past sins. Sheriff Tatum stepped forward, jaw tight. "I run this town now. You ain't sheriff no more," he said, prodding Cole's chest with a stiff finger. "And I won't let you put us all in danger again." Cole's teeth clenched. He understood their fear, but the injustice stung. "So you'd have preferred I let those children die?" He bit out, anger and disbelief mingling in his tone. Before Tatum could answer, the little orphan girl whimpered and swayed on her feet. A slim young woman pushed through the gathered crowd, a leather medical bag in hand. "Easy, sweetheart," she murmured, kneeling to support the girl. The woman looked up at Cole with steady, compassionate eyes. "I'm Dr. Nora Fletcher. Let's get these children out of this heat." A townsman's voice rose above the rest. "Doc, don't you coddle them. Braddock will come for what Mercer stole." An anxious chorus followed. "Send them away. We don't want no trouble here." Dr. Nora stood straight and turned on the crowd, fiery resolve in her voice. "Shame on you all. These are children, orphans. Would you really cast out bleeding kids to save your own hides?" The only response was sullen shuffling. Even Sheriff Tatum looked away. tick of a street clock and the rustle of the hot wind filled the silence. Nora's face was flushed, but she softened her tone and touched Cole's arm. "Bring them inside, Mr. Mercer." She led him toward the small adobe building marked Doctor. Cole noticed her hands were steady despite the tension. Above, a sign creaked on its hinges, and he glimpsed storm clouds starting to mass in the east. Inside the office, Nora gently cleaned the cut on the little girl's cheek and checked the boys for injuries. Cole stood by, his tall frame awkward and the tidy space smelling of antiseptic and dried herbs. Through the window, nervous faces still watched. Sheriff Tatum lingered by the door. "You have to leave town," the sheriff finally muttered, voice low. He stepped just inside, hat in hand. "Braddock's gang. There'll be dozens of them by the second night. We can't defend against that." There was a tremor of dread in the lawman's words. Cole met Tatum's eyes. The two men once knew each other, maybe even respected each other, but now fear had drawn a line between them. "At least help me get the children someplace safe," Cole said evenly. "That gang will come no matter what. Boarding up won't stop them." Tatum glanced at the three small faces now bandaged and resting on Nora's exam table. He swallowed hard. "I'm sorry," he muttered, not meeting Cole's gaze. Then he turned and pushed out the door, letting it bang shut behind him. Through the half-drawn shade, Cole saw the sheriff address the restless townsfolk, ordering them to lock up and douse the lights. Preparing to hide, not fight. A bitter taste filled Cole's mouth. Abandoned. He'd expected as much, but it still cut deep. He absently thumbed the dented silver pocket watch he kept in his coat, feeling the crack along its face. 6:00 p.m. The watch's hands were stopped at that hour, frozen since the day he quit as sheriff. Cole inhaled slowly, focusing on the quiet tick that wasn't there. If help wouldn't come, he had to think of something himself, and fast. Nora finished tending the children and stepped over to Cole. Outside, heavy drops of rain began to splatter the dust, releasing the earthy smell of petrichor. "They'll heal," she said softly. "But they're exhausted and scared." Her eyes searched his. "What will you do now?" Cole squared his shoulders. "There's an old mission fort a few miles west on my property. Thick walls, a well. We can hole up there." He paused, lowering his voice. "Braddock's gang is raising a posse. They'll be here in 2 nights, maybe sooner. That fort is our best shot." Lightning flashed in the distant darkening sky. One of the boys began to cry at the thunder. Nora glanced from the children back to Cole. He saw fear in her face, and courage too. He gently squeezed the little girl's hand. "Then I'm coming with you," Nora declared, brooking no argument. "These children need someone to care for them. And you shouldn't face this alone." Cole started to protest. This wasn't her fight. But the look in Nora's face stopped him. It was the same look she'd given the mob outside. Determined, compassionate, unyielding. He felt a stir of gratitude and something more warming the corner of his heart. "All right," he nodded. "Thank you." Through the window, the rain was falling harder now, drumming on the clinic's roof. The dirt street began to churn into mud as shops shuttered one by one. Red Rock was sealing itself up like a tomb at dusk. Cole helped the groggy children into Nora's covered buggy behind the clinic, and Nora grabbed extra bandages and tinctures, her medical bag clinking. The last of the daylight bled out of the stormy sky as they hitched Cole's mare to the wagon. Before he climbed onto the seat, Cole cast one last look back at the dimly lit windows of Red Rock. Families were huddled inside, praying this trouble would pass them by. Not a single soul in town was willing to stand beside him, not even the sheriff. Thunder boomed, and the little girl whimpered under Nora's arm. Cole set his jaw. As the buggy rolled out of Red Rock and into the night, rain peppered their faces through the open flaps. Nora's knuckles were white around the reins, but she kept the horse steady. Cole sat close, his rifle across his lap, eyes scanning the darkness. Every thunderclap and shifting shadow set his nerves on edge. Time was running out, and a storm was coming, literally and figuratively. He thought of Braddock's vow and felt the weight of it in his gut. 2 nights until the 3rd night. 2 nights to prepare for a siege. Cole tightened his grip on the rifle. How could a handful of defenders withstand an onslaught of dozens? The question throbbed in his mind, unanswered as the storm raged on.